Hello everyone and welcome back to some more Warhammer Warcry for the channel, and after what was the shortest match ever, we have time to play another one. So the Sylvaneth are going to stay on the table, this time going up against the Nighthaunts, who are hopefully going to fare a little bit better than the poor Gorger Mob Pack. They just can't catch a break when they show up. So hopefully we'll have a proper full-length battle or near to it. Different map, same kind of catacomb rules. This one's got bridges, so it's using the bridges rules, and fire pits, so it could use the push into fire pit rules as well if necessary. And it'll just be down to randomising the mission again. But first let's go look over the two teams. So for the Sylvaneth, it is exactly the same as last time. Dagger, Hammer, Shield, 2-2-1, with the heroes being the Arch Revenant, the Branch Witch, and the Kurnoth Huntmaster with Kurnoth Great Bow back here. Then there's just two bog standard Kurnoth Hunters with Kurnoth Great Swords. So we didn't really even get to see what they did last time. They still won easily just because of the nature of the randomised mission. But hopefully this time we'll get to see them actually fight a bit more. The two that did manage to fight one Gorger weren't particularly fussed by it and were doing pretty good damage. So we should expect to see similar this time around. And this is the Nighthaunts. This is the exact same list that was on the channel recently because it was readily available. Dagger, Hammer, Shield, 2-2-2. So we have three Spirit Hosts in the background there. And then we have the Knight of Shrouds, a Tomb Banshee, and a single Grimghast Reaper, who actually suffered a dog-related damage just before recording. But hopefully the repairs will hold. If he's at a slightly different angle now, that is why. So, with that said, let's go randomise the mission and deployment. So it all comes down to this. Let's split the deck a couple of times and we'll say, hey, that's our deployment type. And then we'll do the same over here and say, split that there, there, and then this is our mission type right there. Let's see what we get. Isolated. The foe have strayed far from their comrades. Punish them for their errors. The players roll off and the winner chooses who's the attacker and who's the defender. The attacker then chooses either the defender's dagger, shield or hammer to be in play. The fighter in the chosen battle group must be, fighters must be on the battlefield. The fighters in the defender's other battle groups are not in play this battle. Oh, remove them from the battlefield and from reserves, but do not count them as being taken down. If all the defenders, fighters who started the battle on the battlefield are taken down, the attacker wins. Otherwise, at the end of the third battle round, we'll call it 4, the defender wins the battle. Oof, thank goodness it wasn't the Gorger Mob Pack. So the deployment type, we're going to have to partially ignore because one side is only going to have one battle group. This is going to be a cat and mouse type of game. I'm not sure if that's going to be interesting or not. I guess we'll have to see. But in terms of the attacker, we do have to pay attention to that. So their shield starts on the table with dagger and hammer coming in on round 2 down the bottom ends of the table. So we're going to go roll off for that and be back after this quick word from my channel sponsor.
This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks.
So with that out of the way, we are back and a roll-off has occurred to see who gets to pick attacker or defender, and it's just as well for the Sylvaneth that they won the roll so that they could pick to be attacker, because if they had been defender, because it's isolated, stipulates the battle group that you pick has to be on the table. There wasn't actually a choice because of the escalation deployment type. Each team's shield is on the table and that's it, so you have to pick the shield as far as I can tell. So for the Sylvaneth, that would have just been a single Kurnoth Hunter with a greatsword, but such as it is, he's just the lone attacker currently. So the win condition is if the Grimghast Reaper and the Spirit Host get murdered, again, I guess, because they're ghosts, then it'll be a win for the Sylvaneth. That once again means we're not going to see a full battle because the rest of the haunts and the Nighthaunts are not going to be here. They just don't show up. They're presumed dead on arrival. So, as I say, cat and mouse, not sure if that's going to be an interesting play or not. There is a lot of winding corridors, there's a lot of doors that aren't marked by doorways, but they should be obvious on the camera where they are. So, well, let's just see what happens. I imagine for the first couple of turns they can easily just hide away. But after that, if they get cornered, it'll be a case of how much damage can they do, and is it enough with the time left. Because remember, we're playing to 4, because just that's how you're supposed to update these old cards. So with that, let's jump into the dice for turn 1. So here's how the dice shook out at the top of turn 1. Ignore the values on the faces of the wild dice. They have been used to decide a roll-off because both sides had the same number of singles. The Sylvaneth got a triple 3, and then they had a single 6 and a single 5. They did not want to spend their wild die turn 1. The Nighthaunts got a double 1, double 5, and then 2 singles, plus their wild die. Also did not want to use that. So the roll-off happened, and the Nighthaunts won. So the Nighthaunts will be going first in round 1, which will be a quick round. So the first activation of the game was the Grimghast Reaper. Most Nighthaunt units move in 6 inches minimum. It didn't need to use any doubles for rush or anything like that. It just moved 6 and 6 right down into the bottom right corner of the table, hiding amongst the tombs. Oh, before we get into the Kurnoth Hunter's activation, just realised when we were setting up for escalation, confused the attacker and defender positions. Defenders should have set up here, and attackers should have set up on the other side. However, the deployments and indeed where reinforcements come on are both mirrored on escalation, and this map is also entirely mirrored, so there is no need to reset up because they're still precisely where they would be, just on the wrong side of a mirrored table. So we can still play on, just whoops, have you spotted that? Yep, made a mistake. So the Kurnoth Hunter used their triple as a double in order to rush, to make their very slow movement speed of 4 inches 5, and moved a total of 10 inches to where you can see him. He opted to go back a little bit, up and round, because the reinforcements are coming in this area and this area, and they're on that side of the map, trying to basically pincer them. From there, if he needs to, he can cut down the middle again, and kind of intervene depending on where the Spirit Hook goes, because the doors are in the same place on the other side as well, so their options are slightly limited. And we're already at the last activation for round 1, the Spirit Hosts on the map. They used their... no, they didn't use their double, they didn't need to, because they moved 6 inches and they don't want to end on the middle of the bridge, because then there's a 1 in 6 chance they just die. So they moved 6, moved 6. As I say, because they're not in the middle of the bridge, when they ended up movement activations, they don't need to roll to see if the rickety bridge collapses and insta-kills them, and they can safely get across next turn, assuming that they activate before the Kurnoth Hunter, which is slightly to their left up there. But that does take us to the end of round 1. Not much happening, obviously, when there's 3 miniatures on the table, so we're just going to jump into the dice for round 2 after the Sylvaneth reinforcements come on, and all of them are coming on. So as we begin round 2, the Nighthaunts desperately wanted to go first, and that is not happening. The Sylvaneth only had a double 5. They used one of their wild dice to turn it into a triple just in case they needed it, but kept everything else including their new wild die, so they have 5 singles and will be going first. The Nighthaunts had a double 3, double 4. They knew it was at the roll it was lost, so they've used their 2 wild dice to create triples in case those are necessary, and has left them with 2 singles. So the Sylvaneth will be going first, and that doesn't bode well for the Spirit Host, as you'll see as we cover the reinforcements. So from this angle you should just be able to make out where the reinforcements have come on for the attackers. The dagger can come on at any point along the top left quadrant wall, and they have done at the most right side point of that, so that they can get to the Spirit Host as fast as possible, and that's the Arch-Revenant and the Kurnoth Huntmaster. And then over this side of the table down here, the Branch Witch and the other Kurnoth Hunter with the Great Sword have popped in. So the Nighthaunts are faster than them, but they've got some range, and the Arch-Revenant is incredibly quick, so they're going to have to start doing disengage actions, and that's going to be where there's the chance of actually getting caught. So round 2 got started with the Kurnoth Huntmaster with the bow activating and shooting at the Spirit Host, who was outside of its minimum range of 3, and it has up to 20, so he's got a nice clear shot at him. 2 sets of 3 attacks at strength 4 with a 2-5 damage split against toughness 4. So he was looking for 4s, and his first set of 3 attacks was 2 crits and a hit. His second set of attacks not as good, but he still got 1 success, which was a 3rd crit. So in total, that is 17 wounds to the Spirit Host. Spirit Hosts are tough, I'll give them that. They are 28 wounds. So he's still kicking, he's got 11 left, and now he has the opportunity to run for his unlife. With little choice of anything else to do, the Spirit Host activated and bravely ran away, spending one of their triples as a double for rush to move a total of 14 inches. Got him into the middle of this bridge. It's a reinforced bridge, so even if he'd rolled a 1, it would not have collapsed. He rolled a 5 though, so it is still reinforced and safe to cross. And it's going to be pretty hard for the Sylvaneth to immediately catch him. Their only way of getting to this ghost will be to cut him off from 2 angles. The fastest model on the table by a country mile activated is the Arch-Revenant. He was up at the top of your screen there. Where is he now? Well, he's right here. He moves 10 inches, so he moved a total of 20, which got him right there. He can't attack this turn, and you know, he's kind of alone now, but he is staring down the wounded target and has the other one on his left. He does only have range 2 on that glaive of his, he doesn't have any other range beyond that, but he is certainly putting a lot of pressure on the Spirit Host that's been wounded, and is kind of cutting off a potential escape route for the Grimghast Reaper to the bottom right of your screen, who will be activating now. And the Grimghast Reaper is just continuing the strategy of hanging out with his skeletal friends by moving from one tomb into a smaller room with more tombs. The one thing he's got going for him in there for sure is people would have to come at him from 2 angles to be able to attack him, since most of him is, like the back side of him here is obscured by these tombs. That might be a good strat, I guess we'll see how it works out. Now, with all the Nighthaunts having activated, it's a bunch of activations for the Sylvaneth. It's just going to be movement though for the 2 greatsword using Kurnoths and the Branch Witch, so we'll just get all that done and then show you where they've ended up. So the most important of those 2 activations is down here, where these 2, the Branch Witch and one of the Kurnoths, are just bearing down on that Grimghast Reaper. He moves 4, she moves 6, but position themselves such that she can come round this way and try and cut off. She's also got magic, ranged attack, maximum range 7 inches, but that's still pretty good to just try and pick someone off who might be trying to escape. The other Kurnoth Hunter, who we're going to have to move the camera all the way across the board for, right over there, is in that doorway, just being like, oh, the Spirit Host wants to come this way? Not on my watch. Now, technically, literally, they can just go through that door, but that keeps them in that room that's the same as the one that the Grimghast Reaper is in, where there's no other... Oh, actually, there is an exit on this side. Never mind. I forgot, it's mirrored kind of diagonally, so this room is the same as top right, and the room the Grimghast Reaper is the same as this room up here, where there's only 2 ways in. So there is actually another door. They could start doing Benny Hill and just going round in circles, which would be quite funny, but with the Arch Revenant there, he's actually faster than the Spirit Host, so it is a strategy that would not work. And with that said, that takes us to the end of the second of 4 battle rounds, so we'll just go straight to the dice for round 3. So the penultimate turn of what would have been the last turn if it was the original 1st edition Warcry, the Sylvaneth rolled a double 5, double 2. They used their wild die to turn the double into a triple 5, giving them 2 singles. The Nighthaunts have a double 5, and they used their wild die to turn a single 4 into a double 4, leaving them with 1, 2, 3. So it will be them going first, and that's in an effort to make the Spirit Host run a mile from the Arch Revenant. A lot of careful measuring later, the Spirit Host actually opted to just stand next to this bit of terrain here to kind of partially block one side of itself. That is because with a potential movement of 20 inches or 22 with a rush, they're not getting away from the Arch Revenant, so they're positioning themselves such that yes, they'll be able to move in this door and attack them, but then that leaves them this door to escape from. If that hunter blocks that door, they can use a rush in the final round and try and get up to that door, basically just in a desperate effort to live. There's no avoiding at least one of them getting at least 1 attack, so as long as they live through that, there's a chance. So they position themselves in a manner that will still provide them a potential escape route in 1 more turn's time. First activation for the Sylvaneth in the penultimate round was the Kurnoth Hunter with the Great Sword on the far right of the table. Moved 4 inches to get within an inch of the Grimghast Reaper and then swung at him. 4 attacks at strength 5 with that massive Great Sword with a 2-5 damage split, and managed to, against toughness 4, get a single hit through and a crit for 7 of the 10 wounds the Grimghast Reaper has. And now it's going to have to do a disengage action as well if it wants to get away, and it's activating now, so let's see. And the Grimghast Reaper opted to do a disengage action followed by a move action. He ended outside of an inch of the Arch Revenant, so is not locked in combat and is simply fleeing. It's like playing Phasmophobia, but the people who enter the haunted location have guns, or I guess like Ghostbuster gear. Like, they don't have a chance, they're just scrambling and hiding and hoping for the best. We're just over to Sylvaneth activations now, and unfortunately for the Grimghast Reaper, they paused at an angle at which the Huntmaster with bow could see him. His first barrage did not do well, strength 4 versus toughness 4, he only got 1 normal hit through, which did 2 damage, 2 wounds, so that meant the Grimghast Reaper had 1 wound left. Had to fire barrage again and just barely managed to do it. 1 more normal wound means 2 more damage, total of 4 against a model that had 3 left. So of the 2 targets, 1 ghost has been thoroughly cleansed and is off the table, so now it's just down to the Spirit Host, and it's still just Sylvaneth activations. We'll focus on the ones that are combat first, just in case it brings us to a conclusion. The Arch Revenant can do good damage, so let's see. Well, after the Arch Revenant activated, it's almost over. Moved into combat with the Spirit Host, 4 attacks at Strength 4 versus Toughness 4, so needing 4s. Got 2 hits through and a crit, and that is 9 wounds. I'm going to take this 1 away and replace it with a 10, and that is 26. The Spirit Host has 2 wounds left, so if the Kurnoth Hunter in the doorway, it's barely visible to the top left now, if he just manages to get 2 wounds through, that's game over. So let's see if it happens. The Branch Witch is not going to be able to reach this turn, so it is just down to this activation. It's going to go to the last turn, because even with spending a double on Rush, one movement action gets him there. Now technically, obviously, he could move again, but he's already locked in combat. And yes, it might cut off this doorway, but with their prodigious move and ability to fly, they just hop over the scenery and go in a location that's actually kind of annoying. So trying to force him to waste as much movement as possible by going this doorway means the Arch Revenant will still have a decent chance of catching up because he can fly too, and basically just trying to guarantee a kill at the start of the next round. They're going to desperately want to go first as well, and worst comes to the worst, they do still have the Kurnoth Hunter with the Great Bow at the top of the map that might be able to get a shot off depending on where he moves, but we'll quickly move the Branch Witch as well because that might matter, and then it's the end of the round. And with the Branch Witch hobbling through the halls of this catacomb, that's where she has ended up. Was just thinking off camera, imagine if the defending force had just like a Ogroid Myrmidon, the Minotaur thing. You would have such a thematic map, a maze-like catacomb with a Minotaur running around it that you have to kill. That would be so cool. Plus it'd be pretty hard to take him down as well, as opposed to the ghosts kind of getting picked on here. But either way, that is the end of the round, so let's go to the dice for the final turn. And here's how the dice shook out for the final turn. The Sylvaneth rolled a double 2 and didn't touch anything else because they wanted to go first. The Nighthaunts rolled a double 6, also wanted to go first and did not touch anything else. So it came down to a roll off, used the wild dice for those, and the Nighthaunts won. So the Spirit Host is going to try and get away and buy itself time. A disengage action later with using their double 6 for rush, the Spirit Host fled out this door and has ended up in between these doors here. Positioned such where it is, the Kurnoth with the Great Bow will not be able to get a shot on it after moving, even with a 5-inch move instead of a 4. So it's going to come down to the Arch Revenant and the Kurnoth with the Great Sword being able to do it. So let's see if they can manage it. Forgot to move the Spirit Host's wound counter. We'll have to find somewhere to put those in view. And unfortunately for the Spirit Host, the Arch Revenant with his prodigious 10-inch move got into combat attack, didn't get any crits, but 4 attack, strength 4 versus toughness 4, so looking for 4s. Managed to get 3 normal hits through, that's 6 wounds on top of the 26 he had 2 left. So this Spirit Host is Spirit gone, and that is a victory condition met for the isolated role we had in play, and yeah, the Sylvaneth win. So at the end of that battle, another Sylvaneth win. Not exactly entirely fair again. These old cards for Warcry are genuinely not as well balanced as the newer ones that have been coming out, but these are more fitting for the catacomb maps in general, I think. And yeah, they offer up interesting scenarios. Like imagine if you had won that one as the defender with only your shield on the table, or one group, but just because of the particular deployment type we got, it was shield only. But either way, like, would it have been any different if the Knight of Shrouds had been on the table instead of a Grimghast Reaper? Maybe. Like, they're tougher, certainly. They have access to more powerful abilities, not that they rolled any quads or anything, but it might have made a bit of a difference. But running is really your only choice as a defender there, because otherwise you'll just get swamped by the entire enemy team. So, but yeah, like I say, imagine if it was just like an Ogroid Myrmidon on the table, just running around causing havoc. Something, or the Centurion Marshal, something capable of doing a ridiculous amount of damage and taking a lot of damage. Then it's actually like a game of cat and mouse where it's quite tense because the thing you're chasing can actually hurt you and might not even necessarily need to run, just like sit in a doorway and fight anyone who comes after him. Like, I can definitely see how isolated could work in a situation where it'd be quite interesting. In this case though, the ghost got bullied. Simple as that. But that's just the luck of the draw with Warcry in general, and especially these older cards. Certainly interesting, a very, very unique scenario, and worked better than Messenger last time. But yeah, if we get Messenger or Isolated in the future, we'll probably re-roll the card and try again just to see if we get something a bit more balanced. Still fun though, and I hope you enjoyed watching. Please do remember to show your support. You can do that for free just by liking and commenting on the video. If you can spare anything extra going above and beyond, you can press the thanks button, or become a channel member that gives you early access to a lot of videos, or you can check out the channel sponsor. They sell things from basically everything I cover, and if you do that via the affiliate link, I get compensated, so we both get something. Thank you either way, enjoy the rest of your day, and see you next time. Ta-ta for now.